Welcome back. Now, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency, at the end of last year, there were more than 100 million forcibly displaced people worldwide as a result of persecution, conflict, violence, human rights violations, or events seriously disturbing public order. An estimated 43.3 million are children below the age of 18. So to highlight the challenges and also look at the strength and courage of people that have been forced to flee their home country or to escape conflict or persecution, the World Refugee Day is marked annually on June the 20th. So to talk to us about the importance of World Refugee Day, we're virtually joined by Dr Callixte Kavuro, who is a Postdoctoral Fellow in Law at the Stellenbosch University. Dr Kavuro, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to viewers.
So this, of course, a very important day highlighting the plight of people who've had to, through no choice of their own, flee wherever they were based. So let's just talk about why this problem doesn't seem to be, subsiding, and if anything, seems to be growing globally at this stage.
The problem seems to be increasing because there's an increased civil unrest based on undemocratic governments which we have in places, mostly around Africa. And these problems that we have, and currently we have issues arising in the Republic of, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we have issues in Sudan, and we have issues in the Central Republic of Africa. We have issues at the neighboring country in Mozambique. Sometimes you find that we have the disgruntled people, we have the people who are unhappy with their own government. They wanted to unseat that government, or they wanted to depose the government. And you find that in these instances, people flee their country. In other contexts, you find that we have issues related to ethnic, tribal conflict in certain countries which have been existing for long. And up until to this day, the issues are unresolved. Despite that we have independence, or we became independent countries. And so in certain contexts, you find that the borders that we have currently are disputed. People claim to be part of a particular country, or in other contexts, they wanted to become independent on their own and come from in a country in which they belong. So they wanted to be dependent from the country in which they currently belong.
Dr. Kavuro, if we look at some of the statistics, which are, of course, staggering, at the end of 2022, you had more than 100 million people who'd been forcibly displaced worldwide. And looking at that figure, the question has to be asked in terms of all of these conflicts across the world, the persecution of people in some instances. Whose responsibility is it ultimately to try and stabilize the situation so that we do not have people forcibly moving out of their home places, wherever that may be?
I may say that the responsibilities rest mainly on the governments before we started talking about international communities, because first of all, a nation or a society itself must be democratic, must observe human rights. In that context, where you find that a country or a society does not respect human rights, does not respect the principles of democracy, then we have the international communities that needs to look at those issues. And when they look at these issues, they need to influence democracy, to speak to leaders of a particular country, to be able to abide with the international principles. But when you look at international communities, for example, when we look at the SADC, when we look at the African Union, and you find that they are so weak when it comes to influencing democracies in a particular country. For example, let's say, when you look at the issues that are happening around Africa, like in Sudan, like Ethiopia, DRC, as I mentioned, Mozambique, and you ask yourself what the international communities on the African continent are doing to solve those matters. You will find that there's less which they are doing, or sometimes they overlook it and leave it to foreign international communities to deal with those issues. That is where you find that
and just the final. My apologies, Dr. Kavuro, we just are out of time. But just finally, I just wanted to quickly touch on the issue of what we see in contemporary context, whereby on World Refugee Day 2023, what we're finding is that some of the host countries and communities are becoming increasingly more hostile towards people seeking refuge or asylum. So what needs to be done in that context to deal with this problem?
Yes, you find that the host communities are becoming hostile or becoming xenophobic, as you stated, because as we started our conversation, the number of refugees and asylum seekers are increasing instead of decreasing. And where the numbers get increasing, not decreasing, you find that people are not happy with it. As I mentioned, is that people who fled the countries in the 1980s, in 1990s, you find they are still in a refugee situation, and they are unable to return home. So the issues of repatriation becomes problematic, and issues of integrating them in the host community becomes another problem. So choosing between whether refugees should they integrate in the society where they have been hosted, or whether they should be forced to return to the conflict where they come from, becomes a problem. And when the number of refugees becomes so high, then the state struggles to balance between the interests of citizens and the interests of refugees.
And I think that's where, a country like South Africa and many others who now pay host to refugees and asylum seekers in huge numbers find themselves. But of course, thank you so much for your time this morning on World Refugee Day. Dr. Callixte Kavuro, a Postdoctoral Fellow in Law at Stellenbosch University, talking to us about World Refugee Day that is being marked today.